It used to be like when they first drilled in Saudi Arabia, the oil was just a few metres below the surface of the sand. Now they go into the Gulf of Mexico and they start drilling on the sea bottom 6 kilometres below sea level. And so obviously that is enormously more expensive, harder to find, harder to get out. And the other thing about it is that while there's oil down there, it takes an awful lot more energy invested to get some energy out. And every barrel of oil that we drill for from now on is going to take more energy invested to get it out than the ones in the past. And obviously once you get to the point where you've got to spend 9 barrels of oil in to get 10 barrels out, it's just not really worth doing any longer. So it's not a case of when the oil actually runs out. There'll always be some oil down there. The question is, will it be worth still getting it? So people hope that they'll get oil from under the poles. They're looking at wrecking Antarctica to see if there's some down there. Some people have rejoiced at the fact that the sea ice in the Arctic is melting and soon won't be there anymore, because they think, yay, we're going to be able to drill under the sea of the Arctic to see if there's oil down there. Heavy tar, the tar sands in Canada, they're very sticky, and the oil is kind of all mixed up in a kind of a bitumen-y mix with sand, and you've got to heat that. You've got to apply a huge amount of energy to heat that, to melt the oil enough to get it out of those tar sands. It's not very good quality oil, it's heavy, it's sour, it's sticky, and the energy you've got to put into it currently comes from natural gas, because natural gas has been cheaper than oil. But natural gas is heading towards peaking and declining as well, and in future they're only going to be able to get the oil out of the tar sands in Canada by using nuclear power to heat the tar sands, and they're building several nuclear power stations now in Alberta in order to mine the tar sands. And even so, look what happens to the tar. A little bit of a peak in the next few years, and then it drops off very fast too. At the same time that this is happening to production, demand is skyrocketing. Even the Western nations, with the prices there are still using more oil each year, but it's particularly China and India, who've always used very little per person, are now wanting to catch up with our standard of living, and their demand is increasing sometimes by 10% in a year, and they have very large populations. This has been well known for years, okay? People have been talking about it for a decade or so. So the government's right onto it, okay? The government clearly knows about this, has been planning for it for years, and has got everything under control, right? There are 3 government agencies that do forecasting of the price of oil and where it's going to be in the long term. There's Treasury, there's Ministry of Economic Development, and there's the Reserve Bank. And every 4 months, 6 months or year, depending, they come out with their latest forecast of what the price of oil is going to be. And this obviously gets fed into all the models on which the government does its annual budget and does all its planning for everything. So let's look at the history. The blue lines are the Treasury. So back in January 04, when oil was over $30 a barrel, Treasury predicted that within a few years it will be down at $19 a barrel. Next time Treasury made a prediction, oil got up to here. They said, well, it's still going to drop. And then the next prediction is up to here. And all of the Treasury predictions you can see, look at this one up here, we're going to be down to 100. And it seems they don't learn, because the black line is what oil prices have actually done. The yellow lines are the predictions of the Reserve Bank, on which our monetary policy and our inflation expectations are based. The red line is the Ministry of Economic Development's mainstream forecast. They did 2 in 2006. They haven't done it again since 2006, but 2006 they said oil is going to stay flat at $60 $60 a barrel for the foreseeable future is the mainstream report. Now that's what most of the world thinks. But then they had someone quite radical working in there, and they said, but there is a minority view, basically these ASPO people, there is a minority view that says that oil might be close to peaking. The official government position has been oil won't peak till about 2037. 2037 is a really convenient date. Nobody currently in Parliament is going to be around to take responsibility by then. So it's easy to say, you know, it's a long way away. But they did this minority forecast, and that's the green line. And you can see they said back here in 2006, this was really radical, that some people think oil could go as high as $120 a barrel, and then it would stay flat after that. But of course it did go to 139 actually. It's gone back a wee bit since, but we've seen some more independent forecasts since saying it's never going to go below 110, and it will probably go quite a lot higher still. Now, does it actually matter if the government gets it wrong? Well, it matters because if you're deciding how much of a transport budget you should put into new motorways, then you need to be able to predict how many more cars are going to be travelling on the roads in 5 or 10 years' time than are travelling on the roads now. And of course, government always predicts that road traffic is going to go up massively every year, and it's started to fall. In the last couple of years, traffic on the Auckland motorways has been declining. But what are we doing? We're pouring billions of dollars into new motorways, and we're making Auckland pay for an electric commuter rail service itself. And so it's no wonder, of course, that congestion gets worse. If you look at how the government predicts the future of the tourism industry, I think their expectation and their goal is a 4% a year increase in tourist numbers coming into New Zealand from the other side of the world. And of course, if you don't think that the price of airline fuel is going to go up, then you would say that, wouldn't you? So it actually matters very much that nobody at government level is planning for the future based on any kind of reality. Back to food. What's the connection between oil and food? Well, obviously to grow food you need machinery like the tractor in the top right-hand corner, and that burns petroleum fuel. And the more large-scale mechanised agriculture you have, the more you're into agribusiness rather than local food production, the more oil you're going to be using. Down below that, that funny looking bag is actually fertiliser, urea. Urea is made from fossil fuel. Urea is made from natural gas. Now, New Zealand's natural gas has peaked. It peaked in 2000, and there's been less every year since then. And even though we will find more bits of gas, we won't find anything as big as Maui again, and we can expect that we will never again have as much gas production in New Zealand as we had in 2000. And the price of gas in New Zealand has gone from $2 a gigajoule to $6, and is expected to reach $8 before very long. So obviously that has a huge impact on fertiliser.